Can't believe how many people are here. Wow. Okay. Well, this feels somewhat surreal, standing here today in front of a packed St. Peter and Paul's Church, doing exactly what Dad loved doing, speaking publicly. He was a fantastic public speaker, arguably one of the most eloquent speakers many of us have had the privilege to witness. Tom and I hope to do justice to his memory today, although we recognise that given his innate competitive spirit that permeated most aspects of his life, we can only aspire to come close to matching how well he would have commanded this room. First and foremost, we want to extend our heartfelt thanks to all of you for being present here today. The outpouring of support Mum, Tom and I have received in recent weeks has been truly overwhelming. We always knew that Dad was special, but we may not have fully comprehended the profound impact and influence he has had on so many lives. This just isn't any church. It's Dad's church. This just isn't any community. It's Dad's community. And this just isn't any hometown. It's Dad's hometown. He would be in his element standing here, and we are going to try and give a glimpse into his life, the forces that shaped him, and how he deeply touched numerous lives over the course of his 70 years. Born on 19th of February 1953, son of May and Charles, and the second of 5 Mills siblings, Dad grew up literally around the corner on College Avenue, a house that remains in the family with our cousin Liz still today. He attended St. Peter and Paul's Catholic Church and then went on to his beloved St. Mary's College down the road from here, and of which the St. Mary's Chamber Choir are here singing today, one of Dad's well-known wishes. He had a genuine passion for school, which I'm sure comes as no surprise to you. He was intelligent, committed, and made many great friends. He was also a very keen sportsman and played in the school's cricket, rugby, and football teams, as well as being a member of the school choir. St. Mary's College had a huge influence on Dad's life. They were some of his happiest years, and he was always so proud that both Tom and I attended the school, and even more so that his grandson Louis would be starting next year. He actually took his entrance exam yesterday, which feels so ironic, and here's hoping he passes. In addition to his love for school, Dad's childhood revolved around one of his greatest passions in life, and you only have to look around this church to guess what that might be. Everton Football Club. Dad attended Goodison Park for the first time in 1957 at age 4. His dad and granddad had season tickets in the Bullens Road and would give the gate man a couple of shillings to sneak him in. By the time he grew out of being sneaked in, he had his first season ticket in the Gladys Street end. He travelled home and away with his friends, which were also his school and church friends, and I think that gives a real flavour of the wonderful community that Dad grew up in. He recalls in his memoirs recently that Everton was very much part of his faith. The dedication was unquestioned and unconditional, and he didn't have a choice. He continued to pass the faith on to us, much to my mother's dismay, and we have onto our children. I'll never forget the day that Mark, my husband, came round to our house for the first time, officially as my boyfriend. Dad already liked the sound of him, as he was Formby Cricket Club's opening bowler. But then, when he turned up in his Everton top 2, wow, that was it. He would be the man that Dad was going to let his daughter marry one day. The shared passion for Everton is a legacy that Tom and I have embraced, and more recently, it's a special bond that Louis, Poppy, and Georgie have also shared with their granddad. We feel so blessed at the special times we have had together at Goodison Park over the years, albeit mostly celebrating avoiding relegation. Nonetheless, they're memories to treasure. After graduating from Keele University, Dad secured his first proper job as a teacher at St Vincent's, an approved school in Formby. It was here that he began to forge a connection with his boss's daughter, otherwise named Elizabeth Alston. Yes, that seemingly innocent, church-going, immaculately behaved Charles Mills had found himself befriending the headmaster's daughter, who went on to become his wife for over 44 years. Mum and Dad then moved to London after he had been offered a job as a PE teacher at the esteemed Catholic grammar school, Cardinal Vaughan. He quickly moved up the ranks in his teaching career and was next appointed as deputy head of Stamford House in London. During this time, he had his first two children, Sarah and Lucy. At the age of 33, Dad was offered a significant career advancement, the headship at Nugent House, an all-boys special residential school back up north in Billinge. We all made the move and settled into the headmaster's residence on the school grounds. Tom soon arrived, and family and work life was busy for Dad. Nugent House, at the start of Dad's tenure, could have been characterised as disorganised and struggling. In a remarkably brief period, Dad revitalised the school, elevating it into one of the most distinguished and outstanding institutions of its kind in the UK, achieving Ofsted's highest accolade for a school within that category. More importantly than that was the significant impact Dad had on the young people at that school. All pupils had come from broken homes, some with no homes, excluded from mainstream school. Dad prided himself on giving each and every one of them a chance. He believed in them, and he made them believe in themselves. Regardless of the authority that he had, he was universally loved by those pupils. He based the school's culture on respect for one another and being one family. Those boys were literally welcomed into our family like they were our own. And this is a trait Dad had throughout his life. So many people have said this about him recently. Over the past few weeks, we've come across several messages from former pupils and staff of Nugent House, and I thought I might just relay a few. Mr. Mills was a legend. He really cared for the lads. He was a firm and fair head teacher, but a good one who cared so much. He gave me a chance when no one else did. He was a tremendous headmaster, inspirational and encouraging when helping less experienced members of staff like me to believe in themselves. He always had the best advice when it was needed, and he made time to listen to the pupils. Unfortunately, during our time at Nugent House, Dad's oldest daughter, Sarah, passed away at age 7. Whilst Tom and I don't remember this time, we know and appreciate the heartbreak that this caused to our parents. And it's something that Dad never really came to terms with ever again. He did, however, use this to drive him forward, and it gave him even more determination to persist in changing and positively impacting more lives in the future. I'm nearly finished. Upon moving back to Formby, Dad became the chief executive of a group of special schools, originally based in the Lakes. Under his leadership, he expanded the business, transforming it into a nationally recognised group before its eventual acquisition. Post this, he went on to establish a collection of his own special schools, where he would take ownership of neglected buildings across the northwest and rejuvenate them into schools for children facing challenges in mainstream education. Even in retirement, he remained tirelessly engaged. He took great joy in his contributions to Liverpool Hope University as a dedicated member of the governing council. He became a trustee for St Mary's College, served as a governor for St Anselm's College, and held the position of chairman for the Edmund Rice Bicentennial Trust, actively supporting education projects in the Third World. A real pleasure of his, though, was his involvement with Everton in the Community and Everton Free School. In 2010, Everton in the Community assembled a team of specialists, including Dad, to compile a bid to establish the first school affiliated with a Premier League club in the country. I vividly recall the day the team presented to the Department for Education, as I joined them afterwards in London for a drink. The passion oozed out of Dad as he immersed himself in a project that held the promise of being something very special. He took immense pride in being part of it. Their bid proved successful, and a few years down the line, Everton Free School opened. Dad went on to become Vice Chair of the Governors with his great friend Sir John Jones as Chair. And during this time, the school was recognised as the Times Education Best Alternative Provision School in the country. In addition to his role at the school, Dad joined the Everton in the Community Board, contributing his knowledge and experience to enhance the work of the charity that meant so much to him. His time with Everton not only provided immense satisfaction, but more importantly, led to some very special friendships, for which he was deeply grateful. At the heart of everything Dad did was the intention to make someone else's life better. He taught me so much and has been the biggest role model throughout my life. I have been unbelievably proud to be his daughter, and in recent times have become fiercely protective of him, because that's what he did for me all of my life. He was everything and more you would want, and we feel so blessed that he was ours. I do think it's worth saying, though, that yes, Dad has had an unbelievable life with huge successes and achievements, but as the good saying goes, behind every great man is a great woman. Dad would be the first to acknowledge that without our mum's unwavering support, none of his accomplishments would have been possible. Mum stood by him in every endeavour, supported all his decisions, raised their children, and more recently has cared for him impeccably. So thank you, Mum. I'm going to finish with a few words written by a friend and ex-colleague of Dad's, which we felt summed him up perfectly. Charlie changed the lives of literally hundreds of young people, most of whom would willingly acknowledge his reassuring influence and kindness. He cared deeply for the people who he worked with and could see through the exterior to understand the core values of others. He was generous, welcoming, caring, and kind, and influenced the lives of countless people in our city, in sport, and in education. He changed my life, along with so many others. Thank you.
I'll try and follow that. My earliest memory as probably a 4-year-old was accompanying my dad on his evening walk of Nugent House, checking on the accommodation blocks. I knew then that there was something different about him. He had a calming nature, rarely raised his voice, and seemed to be liked by all and well respected by the staff and pupils. Even until recently, if somebody asked him what he did for a career, he would always say headmaster. And we truly believe his success as a headmaster meant more to him than any other business success he had. His calling in life was definitely to help those disadvantaged in society. We moved to Formby in 1995, and by 1997, he had me signed up for the summer camps at Formby Cricket Club. After playing cricket for Formby in the 1970s, his love of the cricket club had been well and truly reignited. And by 1999, he was starting to get more involved as I started playing for the juniors. In 2004, he became a sponsor and really started to get more involved when, as Lucy said, she started dating the young opening fast bowler. He had 2 successful spells as chairman and just loved the place. He would head down most summer days for a cup of tea with the bar manager and groundsman and loved being the welcoming face of the club at weekends. After a slight setback on the pitch in 2013, he set about with his great mate Ian Cobain of rebuilding the club. 2014 was a year to remember, as Captain Cobain and self-titled Head of Pastoral Care, Dad guided Formby CC back to the Premier League. Coe had given him one job that season, Charlie, you have the most important job. You need to greet the umpires when they arrive, shake their hands, offer them a cup of tea or bacon on toast, make a fuss of them, and tell them how pleased you are that we finally have two of the best umpires today. Let's just say 2014 saw record-breaking LBWs at Cricket Path. Dad played his part. 2015 was our 150th anniversary, and Dad had the privilege of taking over as president. He reduced house membership fees, which saw a increase in house membership, and alongside a couple of other people, transformed the bar and the commercial side of the club. His leadership qualities really showed. I still laugh at the time when I found out that Becca was pregnant with Poppy. It was unexpected, and I couldn't pluck up the courage to tell him. So Lucy, being Lucy, volunteered and walked straight into the front room. Dad, Becca's pregnant. Tom's going to be a dad. Head in his hands. Tom, oh God, he can barely look after himself. But as soon as Poppy came along, he was besotted. Louis followed shortly after, and Georgie in 2019. He was immensely proud of Louis' cricket, football and golf talents, and enjoyed watching Poppy in many of her riding and singing events. And although Georgie is still only young, she would often make herself comfortable on his knee for a story. Our summer Saturday afternoons consisted of Mark and I playing cricket, Dad holding court in the clubhouse, and Lucy and Becca pushing the prams with the kids to the club. It really was the centre point of our weekends. His kindness and generosity was incredible. He had time for everybody and was a sounding board for many people over the years. Need advice on a university application? Go and see Charlie. Need advice on a job application? Go and see Charlie. Struggling with your mental health? Go and see Charlie. Troublesome children? Go and see my mum. Both our mum and dad spent a lot of time counselling and helping other bereaved parents. Our house was a drop-in centre for advice. We wouldn't have had it any other way. Often those coming for advice and guidance would end up staying for dinner, and 3 sausages would become 1. And it still is an open house. There's an unwritten rule at 58 Duke Street. You don't knock on the door, you just open it and shout hello. Dad would only ever look down at somebody if he was giving them a helping hand up. We never saw him show any fear. He would intervene in any situation if he didn't like what he saw, and had an aura of bravery about him. The day after he passed, I sat in his garden office with Mark, looking through newspaper cuttings of Nugent House and other various certificates of achievement. One certificate I found was for bravery, and reminded me of the time when he was driving over the rocket flyover, and a young man had climbed over the barriers and was about to jump into the busy M62. Without hesitation, he stopped the car and quickly went over. He talked to the man while waiting for the police to arrive, and fearing the man would jump, he climbed halfway over the barriers to be with him and held him until further help arrived. Help came and the man was saved. He got back in his car, drove home and just acted normally. But to us, it was another life saved. He was awarded a certificate of bravery for his actions. At the age of 20, he sent me off to Australia for the winter to play cricket. Mum and Dad joined me for a month in January, and this was truly one of the happiest I've ever seen him. He was totally content, renting an apartment on Manly Wharf and having a beer watching the sunset. Sydney's an amazing place, he would tell people, but it isn't quite as great as Liverpool. We chartered a catamaran one day, and I remember him taking the helm as we sailed at sunset past the Opera House and under the harbour bridge. He truly was in his element. Mum and Dad came to watch me play a couple of games of cricket. And for those that don't know, in Australia, all the cricket grounds are surrounded by picket fences, which acts as the boundary. Dad, unaware of this, decided to go for a walk around the ground when I was next in to bat. A wicket goes down, and in I go. I take my guard and look up, and unbeknown to him, my dad is practically fielding at short third man. After realising, he retreated back. The bowler comes in, I play and miss. Next ball, middle stump, out of the ground. Tom, second ball, duck. It's okay though, as I have a Sunday game the next day, so another chance to impress my dad. Sunday, I go into bat. Bowler runs in, pitches on middle stump. I miss it, smashes me in front of the pad. Umpire, out, LBW. He's continuously reminded me for the last 15 years that he travelled 12,500 miles. And never mind not scoring a run, I didn't even hit the ball. He must have been so proud. Our summer family holidays as kids and teenagers were always a 2-week holiday in Salcombe. He loved Salcombe. He loved going out on the boat, fishing, sailing and barbecuing. Our own children have had holidays down there, and this is something we'll continue to do in his memory. After he retired for the second time, he treated the family to a place in Spain, and we've spent the last 10 summers in La Manga, a place he truly loved. Our final family holiday was only last April, as we headed to Abu Dhabi to celebrate his 70th birthday. Although he found the heat a bit too much, he loved seeing how much the grandkids enjoyed the holiday. It was a holiday of a lifetime, memories we will cherish. Our dad was a great dad, a great husband, uncle, brother, friend, and a true gentleman. I'll finish by quoting the last few lines of his recently completed autobiography. As for death, I don't know what it will be, but I will be there in some form and meet up with those who've gone before me. There may be more questions than answers, but I'm prepared for that. I have no fear of death. I don't particularly want to die, but it doesn't frighten me, and I look forward to seeing my little girl again. Thank you.